Hey everyone, Casual Gaming Dad here, and today I'm making a video uh, about my experience trying out competitive Pokemon. Just to be clear, as the title states, um, this is my first time ever trying competitive Pokemon. I've played through all the generations of Pokemon up to this point, but I've never really been interested in trying competitive. And to be fair, um, I just kind of wanted to share what that was like from the perspective of a casual gamer trying competitive in Gen 9. Spoiler alert, it didn't go that great. But, anyways, before I get into that, I just want to thank you for taking the time to check out my channel and whatnot. Here at my channel, I talk from the perspective of a casual gamer. I mean, casual is really, a term that is not so black and white and hard to find. In my perspective, it's someone who typically doesn't go for high difficulties in games, someone who tends to avoid a competitive space, PvP and whatnot, and who just really doesn't like time is also a factor as well. I would say I don't have as much time to play as I could in the past, so that's kind of those are all just different facets of casual and what that means. But I believe there's a really, really large population of casual gamers out there who watch lots of other content creators, some of them are hardcore, competitive, and my channel is really designed around being that casual gaming dad of sorts. So, anyways, let's get into it. So, why did I try competitive in the first place? Well, long story short, I got really interested in Scarlet and Violet leading up to its release, and I discovered a YouTuber by the name of Wolfie VGC, and I would highly, highly recommend his channel if you're interested in just entertaining Pokemon content, but someone who comes from the perspective of, well, he's been a world champ in the past for competitive Pokemon, and he makes a lot of really great videos. Like, he ranks the different move sets, for this latest game, the different moves, the different abilities, the different Pokemon, the different items, and he just gives it a very interesting perspective from a more intellectual standpoint. He's very logical and pragmatic, like myself, so a lot of that synergy was there. His channel's growing really fast. But I'd really recommend him. But so I discovered him, and he kind of piqued my interest a little bit. I also have some friends who've done competitive in the past, and I also felt that the idea of terastallization really shakes things up as far as competitive, and allows for Pokemon to go on the defensive or more on the offensive in a way that can be very unexpected. I really like that idea. So for all of those reasons, I decided to give it a shot. And so I've played the game for about 180 plus hours at this point. I tried competitive finally after the 175 ish, something like that hour mark. So it took me a while to build up, a team of Pokemon that I wanted to try out. And to be fair, I built up kind of multiple teams, different cores. For me, it was important that they were shiny because why not? And that they had the right, that they were beefed up. The EVs and the IVs and items and whatnot, and that can take a while in this game. So I wasn't in a rush to do it. Watched a lot of videos. I found some other YouTubers as well that I've been watching, and anyways, well, instead of me just saying, let me just show you. So let's see here. So I'm going to be blocking my face here right now. I make that a bit smaller and move myself over. So as you can see here, my ranking isn't very good. So it goes from beginner to Pokeball, Great Ball, Ultra, and Master Ball. And I think most people can agree that, Master Ball is really, even just making it to Master Ball, it's, to me, as a casual, it kind of seems like pretty good. Oh, I should clarify, I'm talking only about doubles. I haven't tried singles yet. I think it's a very different landscape, and I thought the doubles was more interesting because there's so much more you have to think about. So I was winning some, losing some. It felt like I was trading off. I was 8-6, and then I lost 6 in a row. So I've done 20 battles, and I know that's not like a lot, but I wanted to do, some, and then just kind of give my overall thoughts and whatnot. And, so what I'll say, again, from a casual perspective is I think that there's a lot of good and good things to think about when it comes to competitive in this game, and a lot of very challenging things. I'm going to start with the challenging things. The bad news is that competitive is definitely not very casual friendly. I'll say that. I see a lot of people playing a lot of the same teams, strategies that some might dub as cheesy and difficult to beat, right? Because there's a lot of really strong new Pokemon, and I think a lot of people are still figuring out really what's best. We're seeing some Pokemon like Murkrow and Gholdengo being used a lot because they're really, really strong. God, Murkrow is so annoying to play against, but if you don't have the proper counters and whatnot, I had to read a lot about that, and I think that that's one of the biggest challenges for a casual gamer, is that out of the last 6 games, so the last 6 losses, I went from 8-6 to 8-12. 5 of them were definitively because of a lack of game experience, a lack of knowledge of Pokemon, the abilities they have, the movesets that they have, and also knowledge of just things in game, like item usage and whatnot, what makes things usable versus not. So I kept making mistakes because of that lack of knowledge, right? One of the games I definitely lost because, just bad luck, which happens, right? I got flinched twice in a row by the same move, and it just completely snowballed the entire game. But, it happens, right? But nonetheless, I think what it made me realize that in combination with the other previous 14 games is that I'm at a significant disadvantage as a casual player and as someone who's never tried competitive. So this is important. I think if you're watching this video and you haven't tried competitive, you're thinking about it, okay? I'm going to make a case for why you should, and I'm also going to make a case for why you shouldn't. I'm going to start with should, okay? So I mentioned some of the reasons already, right? Lack of experience and knowledge of the game, Pokemon abilities and move sets that they can learn is a big deal. Okay? The other thing is that because I've never built competitive, this is my first time really working with IVs and EVs, which are, if you're not familiar with that, then I'm probably not the best person to tell you about that because I'm still learning a lot about that. Excuse me. But, I really am not sure how to build these types of Pokemon optimally. I've been maxing those things because it's relatively easy to do in this game, which I'm going to talk more about in just a minute. But at the same time, there's a lot of things to account for, So having enough of a certain stat to be able to work around or survive an attack from another opposing Pokemon, a commonly used one. And I'll use one example that I ran into that I'm trying to make adjustments for, at least, in theory. I don't know about in practice just yet, but so some of the thoughts that I had were, so one of the Pokemon that I maxed out is Grimmstar, and I'm using it as a screener, and I would set up Light Screen because of Prankster, and Gholdengo, which is one of the new Pokemon, probably one of the strongest Pokemon just all around right now. It's just really, really good. Its usage is incredibly high. It's really strong. I use it too. And it uses its signature move, Make It Rain, which is a 120 base power Steel-type move with Stab, and it's good against Fairy, which is Grimmstar's part Fairy, so it's super effective. Even through a Light Screen with maxed EVs and HP, I still get one-shot it. And it happened to me twice, so I know it wasn't it's most likely not a range. It's most likely, okay, this can consistently KO me, even through a light screen, right? Which just protects from special attack, reduces that. So that tells me that I probably need to remove some EVs, which I did in attack, which I thought about afterwards, like, why did I max Grimstar's attack when I only have one actual, I only use Spirit Break, it's the only attack I have. So I took some off of there, and I put it into special defense, right? So, and again, that's just some thoughts about it. So there's a lot of things like that that are really important for you to know. Or sometimes just having the right EVs and things like speed, so you can outspeed a Pokemon, can be the difference between winning and losing. So those things are really, really important, okay? And that combined with the lack of knowledge and experience to just know these things. And I'll give one more example. I ran into a team that started off with Hariyama and Farigiraf. Farigiraf has an ability called Armor Tail, which I'm not familiar with. Again, I've played all the Pokemon generations, but I played them casually. I played just the games themselves. Handful of ROM hacks, but so I don't know every ability. I don't know what everything does. I don't know what to look out for. And anyways, I don't even know if Armor Tail is new or it's old, but Armor Tail prevents the use of priority moves. So, for example, I tried to use Fake Out and it got stopped, or Quick Attack and it got stopped, and that was really enough to snowball and cost me a game. Knowing that Hariyama can learn moves like Light Guard, when I tried to Hyper Voice, canceled that out. So just knowing these things would help me make better decisions, and because I don't, it's difficult. It's an uphill battle. On the flip side, why you should try competitive Pokemon in this generation if you haven't, if you're like me. I feel it's never been easier to build a competitive team, and that's because Scarlet and Violet makes it easy to do things like increase and decrease IVs and EVs, EVs specifically. IVs, you max those and they just stay maxed, right? But the EVs, you can customize them at your will, and it's relatively easy. You can do it yourself using a held item, or you can just buy it with money. And so for that reason, it's relatively easy. It's also very easy to get a Pokemon leveled up. Granted, in competitive, you only need to be level 50, but I just like to max my Pokemon 100 for use in the game when I do raids. So very easy to get to level 100. Easy to get those items. Sometimes you gotta do a little grinding to get money, but there's lots of ways to do that, right? So there's a lot of customization, right? So that makes it probably more accessible than ever. Before you had to breed for Pokemon with good IVs, and it could be extremely tedious getting the right ability. Now you can switch abilities. You can switch Terra types even. That's probably the grindiest thing you have to do, but even then, it's not that bad. And personally, I enjoy Terra raids, so I don't mind it that much, right? So it's more accessible than ever. And I think it's pretty obvious, right? And another reason is I think it's actually can be really fun if someone like me can get to a place where I feel like I have enough knowledge and maybe a little more experience. I think for the time being, I may continue to just watch videos and kind of learn more from other people, right? Which I appreciate from content creators like Wolfie and others, right? So I think for the time being, I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep playing the game. Skate's going to be around for a while, so this is going to be the competitive scene for a while, so maybe just getting some practice, maybe playing some casual, like unranked, right? When I try things out instead of just jumping into the fire, right? It's probably going to be the best strategy. I don't want to just simply give up. It can be a bit discouraging, losing 6 games in a row, especially losing to like very similar strategies when you think you have the strategy, but then you make mistakes because of lack of, again, the knowledge and the experience. So it can feel a bit punishing, but again, I think that this is probably the best generation so far to get involved in this sort of thing. So anyways, those are just my thoughts. It's definitely tough. It's going to take some time. There's definitely a steeper learning curve, but if you're willing to take the time to learn, I think it'd be fun, and you can always try it single. Maybe I'll try single now too, it's kind of a different space. I think you pick 3 Pokemon out of your 6, so it's a bit different, and obviously singles is very different than doubles, I thought doubles was more interesting, that's why I did it, but, there's a lot to think about. So I hope this, if this helps you out, if this gives you a better idea, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment, leave a like if you felt it was helpful, and consider subscribing. You may hear from me more on this in the future. I do love Pokemon, but I am playing other games as well, so I'm probably going to be slowing down my pace of this game just a bit for the time being, because there's other games I want to play. But nonetheless, it's really fun. I really, really hope they fix the bugs and whatnot. It'll make it just even that much better to play and less frustrating at times. But yeah, I hope you have a great day. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and if I don't see you soon, I'll see you next year. Alright, take care for now.